Good morning, students. Let's continue our English class. We have been doing Unit 3, The Little Girl, and we are almost finishing that chapter. We are on page 35. We are on page number 35. Let's come to the paragraph number 9. Page 35, paragraph number 9. Please, students, open your textbook. Are you all ready? So then, let's go. The McDonald's lived next door. They had 5 children. Looking through a gap in the fence, the little girl saw them playing tag in the evening. Look here, students. The McDonald's lived next door. The McDonald's lived next door, meaning what? They are the neighbors of this little girl. Who is this little girl? Kezia, okay? And they had how many children, students? 5 children. And what was Kezia doing? Looking through a gap in the fence, the little girl saw them playing tag in the evening. Underline the word tag. What is the meaning of tag, students? A children's game of catching one another. In Gujarati, I think we call it as a pakda pakdi. We try to catch one another. Okay? So, what did Kezia saw? She saw these McDonald's children, 5 of them, they were playing tag. The father with the baby, Mao, that is the name of the baby, that is the name of the girl, Mao. On his shoulders, 2 little girls hanging on to his coat pockets ran round and round the flower beds, shaking with laughter. Shaking with laughter. Students, now, you will see that I have underlined the word Mao. The father with the baby Mao on his shoulder. So, what was Mao doing? Mao was on her daddy's shoulder. And 2 little girls hanging on to his coat pockets. He was wearing a coat, and so the girls were just very close to their daddy. And they were hanging on to the pockets. Then, once she saw the boys turn the hose on him, and he tried to catch them, laughing all the time. So students, they had altogether 5 children. Among them, one was sitting on daddy's shoulder, and what was her name? She was Mao. Whereas the other 2 little girls were round the daddy's coat, daddy's pocket of the coat. And then, what? Once she saw the boys turn the hose on him. What is the meaning of hose, students? Hose is a flexible tube for conveying water. In short, the pipe which you use for the gardening, watering the garden and all. And he tried to catch them, laughing all the time. So, they were really enjoying. They were laughing all the time. And this little girl is watching that. She must be feeling, my God, what type of dad these little children have. Whereas my dad is very strict. She always had the fear about her dad. Then, it was she decided there were different sorts of fathers. Different sorts of fathers, different types of fathers. So, Kezia came to know that it's not that what my daddy is, all the fathers are not like that. And students, why she thinks that way? Because when she was punished, she was thinking, she was telling her grandmother, what did God make fathers for? What did God make father for? Why did God shouldn't have made this type of fathers? But when she sees McDonald's, she is very happy. She says, oh, there are different types of fathers. Then, suddenly one day, mother became ill, and she and grandmother went to hospital. Suddenly one day, mother became ill, and she and grandmother went to hospital. Who is she over here? The mother and the grandmother. Kezia's mother and the grandmother, both of them, they went to the hospital. The little girl was left alone in the house with Alice the cook. That was all right in the daytime. So, what was the name of the cook? The name of the cook was Alice. And with whom was Kezia left? Kezia was left with the maid. Okay? And then what happens? Mother was sick. And so therefore, grandmother and mother, both of them had gone to the hospital. And that was alright in the daytime. During the day, Kezia did not mind whatever has to be. But then, students, let's turn the page. Come to page 36. That was alright in the daytime, as she said. But while Alice was putting her to bed, she grew suddenly afraid. She was all of a sudden she was frightened. Who is she? Was Alice frightened? No. Here she grew suddenly afraid. She refers to the little girl Kezia. Now, students, I want you to have look at this picture. You see, Kezia is watching through the gap of the fence. Okay? She is watching through the gap of the fence. And what is she watching? She is watching that Mr. McDonald's is here with his children. Mao is sitting on the shoulders. Others two are near the pocket. See, they are holding the pocket of Mao, of daddy. And then these two little boys running around. Now, this is the picture which we saw on the page 35 about Mr. McDonald and his children. Now, come to the page number 36, paragraph number 10. We already saw in the paragraph number 9 towards the end that the little girl is left with the cook Alice. And when Alice puts her to sleep, she, that is Kezia, suddenly grows frightened. She suddenly gets a type of fear. And why is that fear? Let's see. Paragraph number 10. What will I do if I have a nightmare? She asks. I often have nightmares. And then Granny takes me into her bed. I can't stay in the dark. It all gets whispery. You just go to sleep, child, said Alice, putting off her socks. And don't you scream and wake your poor pa. Now, so what does Alice say? First, Kezia says, what will I do if I have a nightmare? What is the meaning of nightmare? I have underlined that. What is the meaning of nightmare, students? Over here, a bad dream. In the night, you have all of a sudden a bad dream. You get so scared, you start screaming, shouting, and mama comes from the next room to your room to see what's wrong with you. So, here, Kezia used to have often this nightmare. And who would come to put her into bed? Granny would come from the other room and Granny would take her and put her to sleep again. So, what is Alice saying? You just go to sleep, child. And don't wake your dad. Don't scream and wake your poor pa. What is this poor pa for? Poor pa is for dad. So, see the next page. But the same old nightmare came. The butcher with a knife and a rope who came nearer, students we are here, who came nearer and nearer, smiling that dreadful smile, while she could not move, could only stand still, crying out, Grandma, Grandma. She woke, shivering, to see father beside her bed, a candle in his hand. Look at this paragraph, students. Just before that, we saw on the page 36 that she's asking Alice, what if I have a nightmare? And Alice is telling, you don't worry, you just go to sleep, nothing will happen. But don't scream and wake your poor pa, don't wake up your dad. And she goes to sleep. But that same old nightmare, same old bad dream, okay? And what was the bad dream? That she sees the butcher with a knife and a rope. Butcher, who is a butcher, students? Underline this word. The meaning of butcher is a person who cuts up and sells meat. Okay? So butcher is the one who kills the animals, who cuts the animals. It's called as a butcher. The pronunciation is butcher and not as butcher. Okay? Some students misspell this. Okay? Then, and what was in his hand, butcher's hand, what was there? A knife and a rope. He came nearer and nearer. But what was he doing? He was smiling, that dreadful smile, that fearful smile. Smile wasn't a joyful smile. The smile was something frightening smile. And why Kezia thinks it was a frightening smile? Students, because he had a knife and a rope. Now, while she could not move, could only stand still, crying out, "Grandma, Grandma." Okay, so she's shouting, she's calling out grandmother. She could not move, she could only cry out. And then she woke shivering. She was shivering, and then what happened? She saw father beside her bed, a candle in his hand. See, father beside her bed and a candle in his hand. So, what do you see, student? Though grandmother was not there, father was alert. Father was awake. Father knew that his daughter will get up with a nightmare. She will start crying. So, though he was tired, he kept listening. His ears, his mind, his heart was towards his daughter. Then what happens? We will see now something different now in the next paragraph. "What's the matter?" he said. Who is he? The dad said. Dad asked her, "What's the matter? What happened?" And then what does Kezia say? "Oh, a butcher, a knife. I want Granny." He blew out the candle, bent down and caught up the child in his arms, carrying her along the passage to the big bedroom. See, students, over here, what does he? First he asked Kezia, "What happened? What is the matter? What happened? Why are you crying?" And, "Oh, a butcher. That man who killed the animal is over here with his knife and a rope. And then, I want Granny." Why is she asking for Granny? Because she knows that Granny loved her so much. Granny put her to bed to sleep next to her. Then he blew out the candle. The candle was in his hand, so he blew the candle. Then bent down and caught up the child in his arms. Okay, he took the child from her bed, carrying her along the passage to the big bedroom. He is taking her to the big bedroom. A newspaper was on the bed. What was there on the bed, students? A newspaper was on the bed. He put away the paper, then carefully tucked up the child. Students, I want you to underline the word carefully tucked up. What is the meaning of tucked up? It's given over here. Covered up nicely in bed. Covered up nicely in bed. Now, then what happens, students? Look, now I want you to pay attention. Be careful. He lay down beside her, half asleep still with a butcher's smile all about her. It seemed she crept close to him, snuggled her head under his arm, held tightly to his shirt. So see, student, where is Kezia now? She is next to her dad. Okay, she is beside her dad in the parents' room. She is in the parents' room, mother's room. She is now not in her own room with grandmother, but she is with her father, half asleep still, half awake, half sleeping. Okay, and what is that? Still with the butcher's smile all about her, it seemed. Okay, so she was still remembering that butcher's dreadful smile. And then what happens about her? And look here, and then what? She crept close to him. She just went a little close to her dad, snugged her head under his arm, held tightly to his shirt. So, what is the meaning of snuggle, students? Moved into a warm, comfortable position close to another person. It's given over here. What is the meaning of the snuggle, students? Moved into a warm, comfortable position, okay, close to another person. And who was close to her, students? It was her daddy. Then the dark did not matter. Then the darkness was not the problem. She lay still. She slept there. "Here, rub your feet against my legs," and get them warm, said father. What did father say? If you require warmth, you rub your feet, your legs towards my leg and then against my leg, and then you will get some warmth. Tired out, he slept before the little girl. Poor thing, poor Pa was whole day working, so he was tired. So he went to sleep before the little girl could sleep. A funny feeling came over her. She was finding little funny. She has never experienced this type of love from her father. So she was finding little funny. But then see what she says. Poor father, not so big after all, and with no one to look after him. So why she says that? Poor father, not so big, because initially what she has said, when father yawns with his big mouth, he looks like one giant. So she says now, after all, he's not so very big. And what is that? Poor thing, there's no one to look after him. See, her Kezia's attitude towards her father is getting changed now. You see, she is becoming more and more loving and kind towards her father, more and more understanding towards her father. He was harder than grandmother, but it was a nice hardness. Okay, grandmother's stomach was very soft. Okay, when she was next to her grandmother, she used to find the softness of her granny's body. But how was father's stomach? Hardness. But then what she says? This hardness was not so bad. It was a nice type of hardness, a good type of hardness. And every day he had to work and was too tired to be a Mr. McDonald. Okay, what does she say? Poor thing, whole day he works, so he used to be so tired. How can he be Mr. McDonald? He cannot be like a Mr. McDonald. She had torn up all his beautiful writing. She stirred suddenly and sighed. Okay, she stirred suddenly and sighed. Then, students, what is the meaning of stirred? She stirred suddenly and sighed. She moved slightly next to her, close to her dad, okay, and sighed. What is the meaning of sighing? Giving a relief, okay. We saw this word before also. What's the matter? Asked her father. Another dream? So father is asking, what happened? Did you have another dream? Oh, said the little girl, my head's on your heart. What does the girl say? Oh, my head's on your heart. I have kept my head on your heart. I can hear it going. I can hear it going. Your heart is beating and I can hear the heartbeats. What a big heart you got, father dear. What she says? What a big heart you got, father dear. Now, she is no more frightened of dad. She is already talking. She is not stammering. She is not stuttering. But what she says? Oh, what a big heart you got, father dear. You have a very big heart. You have a kind heart. You are very loving. So students, don't you see Kezia's attitude to her father is changed? Her attitude towards her father is now changed. And she is no more afraid of her dad. Now, I had asked you some questions beginning when we started our lesson. And I had asked you one of the questions like, are you afraid of your dad? Then I ask you the next question, if you are afraid, then why are you afraid? Students, you are afraid of your dad, your father, because you do something wrong. And you know, now dad is going to punish. Over here, Kezia also had done something wrong. What was that she had done? She had torn daddy's papers, important papers, which were for the speech, which he had prepared with beautiful handwriting. And for what reason she had torn those papers? She had torn those papers because she wanted to give a birthday gift to her daddy. And what was that birthday gift she wanted to give? She wanted to give a cushion. And so what to fill into that? She thought of putting some papers, some scraps, and some scraps of the ribbon, that is the silk ribbon, silk cloth. And that's how the dad was angry. But students, towards the end, her attitude towards her daddy changed. Now, I am going to give you some more questions. So I want you to pay attention. Students, have a look at the board. I have given you almost 12 questions. And I want you all to write those questions and do your homework. Now, those questions are, already I have answered you while explaining them. While explaining you the paragraphs from the textbook, I have asked you the questions and I have already given you the answer. Therefore, they are not difficult ones. You will write them in your fair book. Plus, today we have finished the lesson and therefore you also have to write the textual question answers. Students, please don't phone me and ask, sister, we do not know how to write the question answers. I have been asking you so many short questions of 1 mark. I am preparing you to write the big question answers. I have shown you first time how to write the big answers with the introduction. If you are watching the video, if you are paying attention, you will know how to write the answers. Now, I am going to stop over here. Tomorrow we shall meet you again. I will meet you again and let's see what we are going to do tomorrow. Please do the homework. I won't be sending the separate image of the board. Today I won't be sending, only this is the one. Have a good day, students. Keep your books complete. Soon I will be giving you online tests, so prepare for it. Bye, students.